This is a chat intro to the AFL Afraid of the Mark.
It was very somber.
Oh, well,
Hello,
I'm still recovering from my month-long illness.
you spicy flu, mate. The government issued
Nah.
fucking flu.
Wasn't even that.
I refused to test for it, but I'm 100% convinced that that's what I had.
Oh,
Like 100%.
I won't test for it, but I know it wasn't because, well, I've just been like wheezing.
Are you going to get Denzel Washington to represent both, or
Maybe.
Denzel.
Yeah. Been a
I
couple
don't
of
get the
weeks.
joke.
We
have you seen the movie Philadelphia?
I don't think I
yes,
have.
it's a good movie actually. We all had AIDS and
Some form of ailment.
and then something else. Yeah, no, it's AIDS.
Yep.
Chad got it. Perth Bears.
And then spread it amongst all of
Well, some of us misunderstood what buy round.
Speaking of, we're still in the bye rounds.
Yeah,
They don't just get one Pride round now. They got three of them.
we bounced back quicker than the AFL. We're back.
Three bye rounds. I was going to wear like some West Coast colours because it was finally another win.
Well, yeah.
Can't lose a bye.
Well, that was going to be my gag. So I walked in the
Oh.
hoodie, and I was going to take it off once we started. I was going to say we can't lose to the bye, but
Yeah.
then we did lose to the bye, and we'll get straight into it. We retired arguably
We didn't retire anyway.
we didn't, but arguably the best intercept defender that's ever played the game was medically retired. So we
Okay.
did fucking lose to the bye.
It's the end of tough nut footy, as I like.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's no one's been as hard since, and no one will be as hard since.
No, sad, especially when their body's still willing, but obviously the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Like, it's fucking real devastating. You know, like Jeremy McGovern changed the game of football. But not only that, like he's universally loved
Mhm.
because he's just a fucking
Top bloke.
just goes hard at it, like. And just you watch his highlight reel, and it's like, man, I don't think a lot of players have as much highlight footage in under 200 games than what he would have. Like,
Not as a defender. No, like he could mark. He was a
mate, he's got fucking sitting on people's heads. He's got intercepts. He's got spoils. He's got like career-ending tackles on people where he just slams them. He's got a kick after the siren win. He's got fucking.
Yeah.
He's got soccer goals. He's got fucking premiership-winning play performance. Like just fucking the highlight reel they put together for him is like, man, I reckon I can name other bits that should be on this.
Yeah. And you could probably double the length of it too.
Yeah, easily. Like
Yeah.
something else, eh?
doing the right thing.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I think it's but this is where I'm gonna have my controversial opinion tonight,
Go on.
and it's not solely off Jeremy McGovern, but it kind of highlights it again. So, is that there needs to be first round compensation draft picks for players who are medically retired.
Why not? It's compromised to fuck anyway, so why not add an extra layer
Well,
of
I think it's
compromising?
a way to balance it, and when they can prioritise the safety of players. If they're gonna start taking away like leaders of footy clubs, like just like this is your whole team is dependent on having this guy on the park to help what they're doing.
Yeah, growing the next generation and all
Whatever it is,
Yeah.
even if they're competitive and they're going for imagine they're going for a flag tilt right now. You take
that.
away
Yeah.
him the year after an All Australian jacket, like.
So it's a fair point. It's a very fair point.
It'll be like how we go about restricted set, like whatever their money's on would be what they would compensate in the draft. Would it be a similar kind of?
No, I think it should be that, like, because what this is the reality of it is some clubs might not accept that they have to tie their players. They might, and then you might get the idea of symptom hiding. It could create a whole lot of other problems, but like. Imagine you are a team who's really, really, really shit or really, really, really good, and like Collingwood in this unreal season they're having, and they go, "Oh, Nick Dacos is retired." And you're like,
What?
"Fuck."
Yeah.
Would commentators still talk about him? Probably.
Yeah.
Of course they would.
They'd find a way.
They'd say he had the best at concussion in history. So
Yeah.
He hit that ground hard.
Yeah.
it's funny. I don't know how you'd get a concussion. You'd have to have a contested.
Yeah.
Contested
he'll play
player.
600 games. Right.
No. He's changed a lot in the last 12 months. But my point is that like regardless of where your team is sitting, you start losing players, and you've got no say in the matter. The player can't even say, "Well, no, I want to keep playing." Like if you're taking them away,
there has to be. No, mate, I'm with you. I don't think it's all that controversial. I kind of like it.
It should just be bang first round compo.
Do you think Carlton will get 12 compo picks? Boss has lost the players. Same thing.
No,
as long as they can
it's got nothing to do with the club. It's if the AFL retires them. So like you look at. Your joke wasn't just delivered well, but we can get to Vossi anyway.
I thought that was alright, actually. That was kind of,
It was alright. I feel like you could, as always, as is tradition, you're going to take a little bit to warm up.
We'll step that part out until we'll put laugh.
We probably won't. Good joke, Chad.
But I'll just use West Coast as an example. Is that in the last, 7 years, they've had 4 players.
Yeah, Brad Shepherd, Venables, McGovern. Luke Edward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and Brad Shepherd and Jeremy McGovern, specifically. Yeah.
Elite.
Yeah. Brad Shepherd was like that hit that did it. He had the longest uninterrupted game streak. Ended there and ended his whole career. It wasn't just like a.
Did he?
Yeah.
Was it knee and then head that went? Knee was in the.
No. He got knocked out before the final series, and that was the end of his career. And he was on like 180 consecutive games at that point.
Was he? Because he did that minging hammy though, didn't he? Like the.
Yeah, I thought there was a hammy somewhere in there.
No,
I feel like
he was
the hamstring is what kept him out of the Premiership game.
No,
it was a leg injury.
He might have got the leg injury after the KO, but the KO is what took him right before end of the season. He got KO'd. He never played footy again after that. Telling you.
Not sure about that, Finn.
I'm looking it up right now.
Do it.
So
you guys talk about something else.
Well,
you're wrong. In the first week of the 2018 final, Shepherd suffered season-ending hamstring injury.
Oh, okay. So where the KO must have been, 2 weeks before that?
Must have been,
Shepherd suffered 2 major concussions in 21. Adam Sard. The Dockers.
Oh, I was way wrong then.
And that's why it was a bit of a shock when he was retired because of ongoing concussion symptoms.
I fucking don't forget stuff like that.
No, you don't usually.
Yeah. What's the test?
I reckon it's AIDS I've had.
Yeah, maybe. Got your foggy brain going on.
Rot.
Brain rot, yeah. Because when you're sick, you sit around and fester, don't you? So yeah, but look, you're right. I think there is definitely a case to be argued there. Compensation picks. The question is it a blanket first round or is it based on the caliber of the player?
Well, I mean,
that's what you were alluding to just before.
Value it.
Yeah, what you've suggested is the way it would go.
Yeah, you retire someone like Luke Edwards and then cool first round pick. No worries.
Well, but it comes down to if the AFL's forcing it.
Yeah, true.
It's not like if someone retires because the doctors advise them to and the clubs advise them to, it's one thing. Like when the AFL says, well, it doesn't matter, we're saying no more.
Yeah. Does that mean...
Because you could have there would have been a whole hearing about it and everything and the testing and nothing's stopping you from having a different doctor that says, no, I think it's fine.
I think it's fine, yeah, true.
If they do, if they
and that's the whole point is they can't.
Yeah,
they got no. He's got.
Once it gets to that level, you can't appeal.
No say in it, and that's why they've created this panel for it. So, and it's different because
does that stop him from being able to play at any level?
Yes.
So if he couldn't even get signed by a waffle team, even if in 2-3 years time he's concussion free, clear of symptoms. Crazy.
Because what's stopping the next knock from
being the one?
Killing you. So
yeah, it's true.
That's it. Like when you're gonna strip the footy from it, the compensation for the player needs to be significant.
Oh yeah, but that's what that injury fund that we talked about.
Yeah, do you reckon $600,000 is enough for Jeremy McGovern?
No, I don't.
No, when he's just lost revenue of what would be, considering how fit he currently is, probably the fittest he's been his entire career.
It's probably 800,000.
He got at least $1.6 million sitting in front of him that they've taken away.
Yeah.
So West Coast won't pay him for the rest of his contract?
Well, they
might.
might.
Probably pay him the rest of the contract.
They might, but he's contracted to the end of next year. And he's probably still the highest. He's probably the highest paid player on that team currently.
You would fucking hope so.
I'd say so. He made $1 million last year, so but that's not just his contract value, but I'd say his contract. He's still one of the highest paid players in the competition. So, but let's say that they they're a business. Well, your contract's now void because a third party is.
That's
true.
One of their insurance companies will be paid out. It's like, well, it's medical.
We're just like we can stipulate all we speculate all we want rather, but at the end of the day, they do have a basis to cancel the contract.
Mm.
He's not reneging on it. They're not reneging on it.
Nah, it's
A
been
third
voided
party
by
has
someone
been
else.
Voided it. So
Wild.
I don't think that fund is suitable for someone in his position.
No.
That fund is suitable for someone who's played their whole career, got through it, made all their money, have problems later.
Maybe have ongoing bone and joint issues and
that
shit like
fund's
that.
suitable for a player who's played 20 games.
Mm.
You know, and it's like, well, we can give you more than you would have made in the rest of your current contract because you've only played 20 games.
Yeah.
You know, like that's suitable for them. It's not suitable for someone. It's like if who's a fucking good example? Chad Warner gets done next week. Cozzy Pickett gets done next week after signing the biggest deal. The biggest deal in footy history, right?
Yeah, they're not
And we
going
can
to be
talk
paying
about that
that out.
next, I reckon. But like, imagine that, right? What's $600,000 to him? He's just
It's
signed a
literally
$15
fuck
million
all. Yeah.
deal. Like,
And you can't expect the Melbourne Demons to. He's been medically retired.
yeah,
They've got to pay
they're
him
not gonna
$15 million
fucking- they're
over
not
the
gonna
next
fork
10
out
years
$15 million.
No.
That fucks their salary cap for the next player that's got to come in. So,
for the next fucking decade of players
Yeah,
that have
so
got to
the-
come in.
So you got
Yeah,
you got
yeah.
two issues, right? So there's the players' financial compensation when they've stripped it away from them.
Yeah.
Now, like I made the point of what Gov earns, but he has made a lot of money in his career, and he'd probably be like, it's all good, no worries. Like,
Yeah.
they'll probably be giving him a job anyway. There's no way he's not there.
You'd hope so.
His presser implied that they've already talked about it, so that's a different story. But he needs his compensation. The player needs the compensation, and then the club needs the compensation for the player that's been removed from their list. Right?
Yeah,
You look at
yeah.
it this way: we just had a mid-season draft, right?
Mm.
And then 3 weeks later, they got a new list spot. Right?
Yeah.
So
They could have. Yeah.
they could have brought a ready-made player in to fill that position for the rest.
Yeah.
Hermit's
And he was. Yeah.
Yeah,
And he was already out at that point too. So they, but just hadn't faced the panel. He was out
the
with
panel
the
hadn't
concussion.
made it.
But
Call
yeah.
a verdict.
He
Yeah.
was
So
long-term injury list. Yeah.
Well,
No,
no, they didn't
no,
shift
no.
him to long term because
'Cause
they had
they
no
didn't
idea
know.
what was
They-
going on.
Yeah, that's
'Cause it
what I
was-
meant, yeah.
because he was probably
They
probably
shifted
been,
Jake Waterman the day before,
Yeah.
didn't they?
He's probably been fined for weeks, but it's not that they've intervened to say if they're gonna do anything about it. So they now open list spot, so that impacts them there. The club needs some form of compensation. First rounder.
I think at that point as well, if they'd retired in that way, it's probably on the AFL to sort of pay out any balances and things like
Of
that
course
rather
it is.
than the actual
it's
club
not the
themselves.
The club's not at fault. The player's not at fault, is it?
Anyway,
But-
feel bad for the bloke. Like watching his press conference, and he someone said to him, "What's the overwhelming feeling?" And he was just just sad. Like
At
he
least he can
loves
walk
his
away
footy, right?
We're
So,
achieving something. If it was like
Right.
the Venables situation when you're like 21 and you're not really you're like that's horrific.
he was a premiership player.
He was.
Like-
But there's still 21's a hard age to walk away at.
Yeah.
When your body's. But yeah, that's it is what
Yeah.
it is. But
Yeah, well, but that was pretty serious deal because he was the highest draft. Their highest draft pick the year he's picked, right? And they went through a period where they weren't getting high picks because they were performing so well. You know, I think they drafted him in 16,
they started having their Premier tilt. Yeah.
so they were like pick 17, excluding all the other compromise that happened in that draft because they played the grand final that. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's when they got him. So
15 was grand final.
oh, was it Venable? It might have been wasn't Venables. It was the other one. Venables the following year. No. Venables I think would have been the 16-17 draft. 15-16 was Luke Partington, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Luke Partington, and he ended up being a dud, but he was their first pick. But Venables was finally getting to that point in his career where he was starting to
Put it
He
together.
Put
he
it
played
together.
that back end, didn't he? He played, yeah.
put it together.
How many games did he play in that year?
20. Oh, I think he played something 20 in total. I think 20 something.
Oh no, he played more than 20 games. I'd say he'd be closer to 35, maybe. I feel like that's the
No, he
number.
was 21 years.
He was, yeah, he was young, 35 to 50, I'd say.
I always get like a male body part whenever.
But he was finally starting to string that inside stuff together.
No, game's 21.
21 games.
21
There
games.
you go.
11 goals,
So there you
yeah.
go. In 21 games, he was already starting to
Why do I know that?
perform. I don't know. You banged me out. Well, you know a lot about West Coast. It's weird for someone who loves Fremantle.
For a secret
so-
Freo supporter, yeah.
Well, as long
Oh,
as the main
funny.
thing is as long as he can pay to keep a roof over his head.
But yeah,
Speaking
that
of
was
Bruce,
that
yeah.
was bad as well because he was finally starting to look like a performer, which
He
means imagine the confidence he's feeling as a player moving in that way. And yeah, okay, I'd say you'd have an argument to say no, he's not worth the first round, but it has to be something of a blanket, I think.
Yeah.
Or at least like contractual,
He played 15 in 2018.
contract based for like players who pass their first restricted free agency
Well, the same,
period.
Mm.
the same happened to Harley Reid now based on stats. Money, like, if he went down the same way, then it'd be like, well, how would you, with the point system that way, you wouldn't be able to justify we want to X amount. You know what I mean? It would be
Yeah,
hard
but
to do,
that's
yeah.
kind of extenuating circumstances.
Yeah.
Oh, no, but
because
yeah, it could happen,
when they're
yeah.
floating around a $2 million a year signature being signed
Yeah.
this
Well, what's
year,
the West
you know,
Australian going to write about? They'd lose everything.
yeah.
you know?
Well, because it sounds like he's like locked in to finish his contract now, and he doesn't want to talk about anything else till next year. Wants to focus on. He's happy where the club is at the moment, and he's basically told his manager to tell all the Victorian teams to piss off.
Where'd you hear that?
Update.
Hey,
Where did you
I
hear that?
read it a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, right.
It was just because people were like, oh, Harley's very close to agreeing to join a Victorian club, as they do. The Vic media
Yeah,
just
yeah.
fucking relentless with it. And then it came out saying his managers said, leave him alone, he's not interested. Focus on his footy. And that was kind of telling because his last 4 weeks have been like...
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of contracts that we just covered,
Cosy
Cosy Pickett, mental.
Mental.
Yeah, I know Melbourne like to gamble, but that's a big gamble.
That
Look,
is-
like
yeah.
just you know, because I said this earlier in the year. They were floating up Cosy to make him good trade
Pump up
bait
his value.
for
Yeah.
Luke Jackson, and then they come out and do that, and it's like, man, you've got so much turmoil within your playing group, and then you start throwing a mediocre player 1.5 for 10 years.
Well, stats based.
He's extremely mediocre. And, like, don't get me wrong, he's got X factor, and when he's on, he's like sensational to watch.
You're
But
not getting that.
You're not getting
All
it week
day,
in,
every
week
day,
out.
yeah.
It's not like watching Liam Ryan or Cyril Rioli who bring the same performance every week. You know.
Yeah.
Now, like, yeah, okay, Cosy's best is probably better than Ryan's,
Mm-hmm.
but it's so inconsistent. Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like Cyril Rioli did the same thing week in, week out. Was it for a quarter and a half every game? Yes, but it happened every week, and therefore impacted the game in an extremely positive way.
Yeah, yeah.
Cosy Pickett isn't that level of X factor, I don't think, where it's consistent. So, as you said, it's a gamble, and I reckon they're like,
Well, they're 3 highest paid players now: Petrarca, Oliver, Kaiser, and I'm like, they're not worth the money they are on anymore.
Petrarca is, but he's not in the game because his teams are.
He doesn't have the around him what he had when they were in at their peak and won that flag.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I feel like it's probably a poor decision. They've tied up a lot of money in, like you said, in arguably not the best of investments.
No, I mean, like, I've made some bad financial decisions in my life, but that's
Yeah. It's up there.
Well, if you're paying him that much, then it's like, then you look at when Darcy hits the market, and like, what's it worth? See, it disrupts everybody else's value.
which Darcy?
What would it?
Yeah. Sam Darcy.
Sam Darcy. I always think
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
his dad. Yeah.
But how much is he worth? Jose's better.
Mate. Either way, he's going to be worth big money, but you're right. It's going to inflate that in a big way. And it's going to inflate things for, like, the Harley deal and all of that as well.
Yeah, well, it does.
Yeah.
It's that makes it hard for Harley. But if Harley's not the first 2 million man, Sam Darcy is.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Darcy's acting.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. But the reason he's a $2
What knee
million
injury
man
is-
is because he's a forward in that position.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's not. There'll be $21.5 million midfielders, but he's like the only forward since Jeremy Cameron who can actually just kick it to the You know, like, and since 2000, you can name on like 7, 8 fingers the forwards who have done. Right, like, and you make it 9 now because he's a player who can do it. You know, like it's not a long list.
No.
He's already more goals.
That's right. Like it's not a long list, and
That was funny.
Not as many behind you.
yeah, he's working on it. Yeah,
that'll take some time.
Yeah, he's a gun, and if it's not Harley, he's the first $2 million.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Like,
yeah.
But it does affect the contract talks there, and you got to remember that the Dogs have a lot of players that they would want to retain.
Yeah,
and that would involve them paying inflated amounts of money. And they're
what's his name? Cal Toomey, Gettable. Yeah, he's been he is, and he's been saying for a little while like you're gonna see bigger numbers, like that. All players' salaries are going to get bigger.
100%.
That's kind of the way it's going.
Caps are going up.
Yeah,
that's the whole point.
Something like 90 total or something.
Yeah,
it's actually quite high.
Yeah, the whole
point still feels mental. The numbers that are getting thrown around.
The whole point of those caps is that increases is that they know because inflation exists for dumb
everybody
mediocre
except the common man
like us. So it definitely exists for them too. Right? And that means they're entitled to expect more the same way everyone else is who's living in a world of inflation.
We just ain't getting it.
But you're entitled to expect more.
Yeah.
And it's the reality is players are going to get paid more. Right?
Yeah. No, it makes sense, but it just feels wild. And I think the length of time too. Like if you're going to lock people in for that long,
it's the first time. It's not very often kanecornes has a hot take, and his hot take about contract lengths is on the money.
Yeah. What did he say?
Anything over 5 years, the AFL should not allow.
Yeah, I probably would have gone shorter, to be honest, like 3-4 year deals.
Yeah, well, I think it's anything over 5. It's got brought in this year, or over 6. The AFL has to approve.
Yeah, okay.
Or the CEO of the football club has to get approval from the AFL to do it.
Yeah,
but he's come back and saying that like contracts should be capped at 5. No matter what.
Who signed off on the Kaiser ticket? That's obviously.
Yeah, well,
Kane,
perhaps
Laura Kane's probably.
She have helped lift the pen.
She probably
After
thinks.
Tom Harley looked at it.
Yeah.
She, I don't know. They probably would have thought an AFL house to be consideed racist if they didn't.
Yeah, probably.
Allow it, you know, like,
yeah.
Of all players, like I was baffled.
Look.
Like, don't get me wrong. He's worth good money because if he's getting paid well, you're going to get the best out of him.
Right? Yeah, 100%.
The best out of Cozzy.
So, yeah.
Again,
but
it
not
comes back
over
to
10
years, bro.
I want Gary Ablett Jr. for that price.
No, it's not the money; it's the length of time.
Yeah,
that's just crazy.
If he's performing, if he performs based on his remuneration, you'll see really good from him, right? But
most players go the opposite. Once the money comes, they're like, oh, I've secured it now. Like, I'll just,
That's not the case.
Then it also makes you sort of start that conversation again around, is there actually any value in these contracts anyway? Because they're getting broken left, right, and centre.
With that money, I want performance.
Yeah. But look at Jack Waterman. Renegotiated immediately after signing because he finally got a breakout. And then backed it up till he was injured. Fucking double backed it up, right?
Yeah.
So the money came in, got a better performance. Right? Clayton Oliver, before he got fucked on drugs, the big money came in, big performance came in.
Yeah.
Right? Like it just, I'm big.
Yeah.
Maxi Gawn gets paid well, plays good. Right? Yeah. Collingwood's doubling what Darcy Cameron's getting. He's not coming back to WA now. Pretty much locked to stay there because they've just doubled his salary.
Fuck.
But they should double his salary because
he plays at the level.
He's hit this new high right now.
Yeah.
And if the money's an incentive, well, he'll just keep fucking going.
It's just weird though, because if you're performing, like sometimes you won't necessarily get a trigger to get more, but if you've got potential, you can still earn the same amount as not performing as the.
I think I think that way it should be is a base salary and then performance off that, right?
What, a matched base salary across a playing list?
No. I mean, every player is different, right? You're not going to give, You're not going to give here's a good example, Collingwood. You're not going to give Braden Maynard the same base salary as you are Dacos, right? You're not.
No.
No way.
Fair.
But their performance incentives can be the same.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's almost like commission in a way. Like,
It's exactly how it should be.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. It doesn't. Like, I used to.
There's so many wild metrics and stats and things that you could look at to.
Yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for? To like measure their performance.
But the group and the club know what they need out of each player. You know, like we can throw a dart at a board trying to work out what their metrics are, but they know.
Well,
what
that's
it
the
is,
thing. Yeah,
that's how Michael Christensen does.
Yeah, like but that's what it is. Like Nick Dacos's will be get at least one contested possession.
Yeah,
and we'll give you an extra.
Give you an extra mil.
You know, like But like I remember years ago working on this project, and like I was still an apprentice at the time, so I didn't get to fall into the scheme that others were. But like when we would perform an installations, like if you were to do the first phase, you got this amount of money, and if you did the second phase, you got this amount of money, right?
Yeah, okay.
And this is in the mad Irish inrush of 2009, 2008, and where they were just like all coming off the boat.
Yeah.
And you got blokes working 16-hour days, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
But they were making that much money, like hand over fist, because they were applying it, right? And it's a pretty simple metric. You get this done, you get this much. You get that done, you get that much. You do this many of these, you get as much as you want.
It's crazy to think, like, you could be on a bigger salary and perform less than people in the team, but you're still guaranteed that amount of money. That's the crazy part sometimes.
Tim Kelly.
Yeah.
It's
But,
but when he was on his first big contract, because he's not on big contracts anymore, so, and he's not on big money anymore.
I hope not. Yeah.
No, he's not. That
yeah.
whole club went through a thing where they just started stripping everyone down in the hopes to assist with their rebuild, whatever. So he performs like someone who's getting half of what he used to.
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense. So it goes back the other way as well. Where it's like, well, I've lost the money now, so
why bother? Why bust my
half
hole?
money, half work.
Yeah. I don't know.
Keep a roof over his head. And speaking of roofs over heads, Tasmania.
Yeah, it's not a bad segue, Chad.
You did all right.
was
You
all
say
right.
he's warming up. He's warming up.
Take it
Talking
away,
of warming
mate.
up, I'm fucking
take it
freezing,
away.
so I'm
Take
gonna
it
put a
away.
hoodie on. You go for it.
We're in there's a war between the federal government, the state government, and the AFL. So the deal was signed. They had to have a roof stadium to be a part of the AFL team. Now, Tasmania are getting cold feet, freezing there, as we saw in that the conspiracy.
Getting cold in here too.
The James Heard conspiracy podcast.
The heating is mildly on.
Yeah, luckily we have a roof over our heads, thank heavens. But we're in a stalemate. Now there's a snap election coming up soon. And Alistair Lynch was on the board and he didn't even know about the election, so it's clearly a well-run club at the moment.
Sounds like Lynchy.
Yeah, he's obviously for his look. But that's, you'll get the females in. Now, obviously, I think we spoke about this before. We have about whether we need to stay. As long as there's a roof, that's the main.
Well, yeah.
Oh no, I agree with all the reasons why they have to have a new stadium, but that's tip of the iceberg. Like.
Yeah.
It's more where the funding's coming from. If no one can afford it, then you don't get a stadium. Is that how I would?
Therefore, you don't get a team. Which is probably. I agree. It's fair.
You don't make this big fucking song and dance and put all this work into getting the team off the ground just to turn around and say, "Oh no, we don't want to spend the money now."
No, it's shit planning from both sides. The AFL should have been better, and the state.
The AFL have been transparent the entire time.
Yeah.
When they're putting in their business, they would have been like, "Is this actually going to happen?"
No, when they granted the license, it was under the provision that you were building a new stadium with a roof. Right?
Did they do that though, just so they could watch them fail, so that would go away? Like,
Well, no, they're not interested in that. They want a 20-team comp. Right?
Yeah, they do.
The AFL wants a 20-team comp, and the only way they're getting there is by doing that team first.
Yeah.
Right?
So then they can justify a third over here.
Yeah, or Northern Territory.
Yeah.
Right? That's it won't be because they don't have the they don't have the grassroots population to do it, right?
It's like the polar extreme. It's fucking hot over there. Like it's freezing in Tasmania. Like, why would you want to live?
But regardless, and the whole point of the Bunbury thing, I think, is them testing the water for WA3. But there's no way they'd be allowing any of that to happen if it wasn't
I always thought Norwood would want an SA.
South Australia has half the population of WA.
Yeah, at the moment. You get that
WA is
data,
the
mate, it'll
fastest growing state. West Australia's population will eclipse the rest of the country in the
We
next
don't
5
want
years.
any more. There's freeways. too
Yeah, I
much.
know, but what I'm saying is like they understand that. So that, like, if it was anywhere, if it's not Northern Territory, which I don't think they get off the ground good as it would be if there was one there, it would be WA 3. But they have to have Tassie done first.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they can't half start one and then do another.
But
Like,
it was a non-negotiable at the start of the application for the license.
It was, and it was a fucking main headline too. It's not like they've snuck it in there as a small print. It was
yeah, I know,
roof
that was-
stadium.
yeah,
It can
that
happen.
was the deal. But then
Yeah.
obviously the people cracked it. So who doesn't want to pay now?
I think
It's
it's
the
the
state
state government.
Yeah, I don't think the taxpayers have an issue with it because they want their fucking side, right? And they also wouldn't have an issue with having the best stadium in Australia built for their new footy team.
No.
Well, look what it's done for us. Like we've had massive wrestling shows. We're probably going to get State of Origin. That's going to be announced soon. I would assume we've had the State of Origin for NRL over
the
there,
NRL was here.
57,000. So it's done
The
hugely
first
for
event
us.
in
Yeah.
the stadium was an Ed Sheeran show, like
Yeah.
80,000 people or something wild.
Mate,
Yeah.
that stadium is ranked 5th in the world for stadiums,
Yeah,
right? And it's had every event under the sun.
even the grand finals. Yeah,
It's had
Yeah.
a grand final, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's been very, very, very good for the competition. It's been very good for the state.
Yeah.
It created a lot of jobs. It created, it cost a lot of money. And they didn't do fucking handouts for it. They got it sorted themselves because they said we have to do this.
And they didn't fuck around doing it
And
either.
they did not
like-
fuck around doing
no.
it. And it generated that much revenue for the footy clubs, for the AFL, for the state government, and all the people involved with it, right? It made its money over very quickly. And the same thing will happen in Tasmania. And as I said to you before, I'm not going to watch a game of football or the Tassie Devils play in any of those two poxy shithouse fucking things you call football ovals over there.
No,
No,
and
it's fair,
I
yeah.
respect it. I respect it a lot, and I think that's the purpose of them scheduling that game. Like we spoke about this just before as well.
The game
Schedule
show
that,
has got the old tinfoil hat on. Yeah,
mate.
Oh no, I agree.
I'll fucking share the hat
because
because it absolutely was 0 fucking degrees when those players ran out, and that was absolutely intentional.
Yeah.
Absolutely intentional.
Yeah, well, look how poor the quality of the game was. Like,
It was woeful, man.
I haven't seen that level of inaccuracy ever. Like, the
Nah.
American military didn't show them how to hit targets.
Yeah. It was bad. It was fucking.
As bad as that
Yeah.
joke.
And
I
it,
didn't say do it.
and it would have been fucking cold and shit for spectators, right?
Well, it's like
Yeah.
Canberra's
At
the same
least the
temperature,
players
yeah?
were running around and warming up, right? You're sat there trying to watch that.
Yeah. But you see it
No
when you
way.
see them lining up for goal and you can fucking see the breath coming out and they're like,
Yeah.
they were gassed too.
Yeah, because
Right.
it's
It's hard to
Oh,
The
breathe
pressure that
cold,
puts on
yeah.
your chest. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Like, so it fucked the spectacle and it drove the point home. So I'm completely all in. Like, no new stadium with a roof, no team.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I'm
not
curious to see
sustainable.
who is going to end up paying for it. It can't be that. It shouldn't be the federal government.
I
it
think
should
at
be
this
the
point,
AFL.
no one's going to pay for it and it's not going to happen and it's going to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
That's where I see it lying.
and
But
you
even
know-
like, say if it takes them longer to get a roof stadium in Tasmania, if they go, all right, they'll have to play all away games. Would that be something?
they're not
No.
doing it. It was. You don't get a team unless you got a stadium.
It was,
Yeah.
and again,
But is that like
no
an
fine
alternative,
print.
we
It
can
was
do, we'll just play all away.
No,
games?
because
well, no, because then they might as well just back down and say just use the stadium you've got.
Yeah. It's they need to be firm on it because if the AFL wants their financial return, because they're a business, right?
Non for profit. Yeah.
Yeah, but the more profit they make, the more they can do for football, right? And the more that money gets dispersed correctly and does more, right? So if the AFL
Correctly,
is,
I would argue, but yes, go on. Yeah.
hey,
Oh, I don't know where the money goes, but
well, grassroots, they spend a lot of money on.
I think there's also like a competition integrity thing as well. Like
Yeah.
you wouldn't go, yeah, okay, play all your games away and then have absolutely no competitive edge at any
No
point.
they're not gonna have a
Identity.
competitive
Yeah.
edge for years
No.
anyway. Like,
No, but they'll again no identity, no home ground, no stomping ground that they can call their own. they're not even
Culture
close
doesn't
to being
exist
on
yet.
par.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's-
Not even
yeah,
close to
yeah.
being on par with anyone. So
Yeah.
it's a waste of time doing it because no one will watch. Even if it's broadcast on TV, no one will watch because they'll be expecting an absolute shit show.
Yeah, and it always will be.
Yeah.
And I think Hawthorn and North, but they're still destined to pull out regardless of whatever happens. They're like, well, you don't want us now, so you know.
I don't think so. Hawks
would
want to be
re-sign.
there. Yeah,
You
yeah.
reckon?
Yeah,
I
Hawks
don't think
would.
North would now
North
they've
won't
played
because-
Bunbury.
Yeah,
They've-
now that and they've sold that, and they
that's big
and
money
it,
for
and
them.
it worked because they got a big supporter base in WA North Melbourne do,
Mm.
so they that works better for them over having stuff in WA than it does in Tasmania.
It's a weird argument from Clarko though. He complains about all the other teams not having to travel as much. Yet they're selling games like it's going out of fashion. Like, is that not?
Well, they sold 2 games, and they needed the money, and their deal with Tasmania was ending, so they needed to.
What,
cover-
two games a year for 3 years?
Yeah,
is it the
yeah,
deal?
yeah,
Like up
yeah.
to 27, I think.
So they
it
get
was.
one home game at both of those stadiums. It's all good. They won one of them and nearly could have won the second one. Like they started well. Like that.
Well, could they move north from North Melbourne to be the Bunbury team?
No, because they want 20 teams. And if they're gonna adjust any of the existing teams, they should just get rid of St Kilda altogether.
Where's Ross Lyon going to go?
He's
only just come back
hopefully
from
The
retired.
dole queue.
He's just come back from Vegas. Yeah.
But
Oh,
it's relocating teams doesn't work. If they were going to do that, they should have relocated North Tasmania, and even then, North wouldn't do it because it's not. Yeah, I suspect this team's not going to happen.
No, it's all falling apart.
And when it doesn't, I'll be asking for refunds.
We're inaugural members of what? Nothing now.
Nothing,
Like,
yeah.
You know.
Give me all my money back.
I want
I want my $10 back.
I want my fucking
Oh, for your jumper too,
$130 back.
yeah.
boy.
That'd be
Yeah.
rare. That's a collector's item now.
Yeah, that's true.
I wouldn't be returning it. I just want the money back.
Yeah, fair.
You
Fair.
giving me-
I've invested
I
in
need-
fuck all.
I need to actually buy one for the team I do support.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Wankers. But at the end of the day, that's useless.
Yeah.
And what I find so frustrating, they've done all this work, big show and dance, like, we got 100,000 members, like carried on, and they got fuck all because they won't build a fucking stadium. Embarrassing.
They went down the bad because they had like Revolt and the CEO crying on TV. I'm like, oh god, going down this, like, please.
Yeah. And not just them, there was like other people as well. It was all
So instead of crying,
All
What
a
I
bit
find-
weird.
What I find
all a bit
really,
Live Aid.
yeah.
What I find really surprising is that Brendan Gale is allowing this to be a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, true. That's true.
It's like, well, why would you want CEO on national TV crying that they didn't get their way? It's like, instead of crying, why don't you get on your little Excel spreadsheet, work the formulas out, figure
Yeah,
out where the
get the
money's
fucking
coming
money.
Yeah.
Sell more shit.
from.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So people can demand refunds later when it doesn't happen.
Where's Greg Swan?
yeah.
But there's ways to generate money.
Yeah.
know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we could play Family Feud in Tasmania. That
Yeah.
could generate some.
There is no.
Good lord.
Oh,
Good.
playing my next door
lord.
neighbour. Who's my dad's brother's uncle's son.
Oh, dear. It's not well, but that's not,
No.
it's not a good stadium. But I mean,
I don't think it's going to happen at this point. I think it'll at least get pushed back
Yeah.
and probably brushed under the carpet.
What do
as-
they need?
with AFLX as one of the mistakes that have been made.
What do they need? $1 billion, eh?
well,
Oh,
they need an umpire who managed
Wild
funds
amounts
to
of money.
accumulate $1 billion. Currently on court and had a car accident. Now being accused of other shit.
Yeah. Still on the run. I didn't follow
If they
any more
got
of that
their
story.
100,000 $10 members to times their membership purchases by
By 10.
1,000,
Oh, yeah, 1,000.
and so they paid $10,000 a membership, then there's your $1 billion.
There's your
If
stadium,
it's-
yeah.
If it make it tax deductible, then I'll consider it since they were like 3
Yeah.
weeks away from tax
Yeah.
deductible. I'll write it off.
I'll buy a $10,000 membership if it comes with 3 flights to Tasmania,
3 or free,
3
right?
per year
Yeah.
for 25 years, 3 games, right? One of them has to be against my team, so you have to make sure that my team is playing there every year, and you have to accommodation, flights, and access 3 games every year for 25 years. I'll give you 10,000.
10,000 a year.
No, just a start-up membership to get do that for everyone. Get $1 billion, and then it goes back to normal membership. And I'll retain that membership at $1,000 a year.
With flights consistently every year.
every year for 25.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, Melbourne would take it. Yeah.
Yeah, they would. That was good.
Now, that might sound like chaos, right?
Yeah,
Might sound like chaos, but if they...
but you got to do that for 100,000 people.
Yeah, well, they can work that out.
They can work that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can't work fucking
In 25 years, it's gonna cost them a fucking $1 billion to fly 100,000 people across the country. Yeah.
Try the state government to pay for it.
But the point is, there's things you can sell
Oh, that's too
to
good.
generate.
No, absolutely there
You
is.
know?
Yeah.
You might be able to sell a rich person for a fucking $1 million. Is like whatever you want. You got your own, like you get to sit in the coach's box for the next fucking 20 years.
Yeah.
Well, do they get like an international investor, like a billionaire? All right, I'll invest in the stadium and the team, and I want ownership or part of ownership.
They can't have private ownership.
No, it's not
'cause then
a
it's
thing
no
in
longer-
the AFL, is it?
Well, it can't be a not for profit if there's private ownership.
Then they changed the model of the whole game.
The
to
clubs,
get there,
the clubs can
then
operate
so
as
much else
private entities,
changes.
but they're not.
They're not privately owned. No.
WA state government owns West Coast.
Yeah.
Pretty sure they own Freo as well.
Interesting. It's a strange business model. We should dig in a bit more about that, but that'd be a very boring podcast to listen to.
Probably.
Or
Well, I would just see how things work.
Well, what I don't know. Like, you imagine you took a club like Collingwood, who are just up and up and up and up right now, and they sold it to a private buyer,
Yeah.
and he fucked the club because his decision counts,
Mm.
and they never recover from it.
Yeah, true.
You'd be fucking annoyed, right?
Well, yeah, but they buy and sell like soccer teams and basketball teams. And
Yeah, of
left,
course
right, and
they do.
centre.
But at the end of the day, if I owned a team, my decision counts.
yeah.
Well, you're the owner. Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you
But
do.
it counts in like a board scenario, so there's still 12 other people that could veto your decision if you were
Fuck
making
off.
a
If
fucking
I-
wild
if
one.
I owned it and I'd walk into the club and go, gone. There's no way they can stop.
Of course there is. There'd be fucking measures and balances in place
No
to stop
way.
shit like
Then
that
I'm not,
happening.
who's buying it then? You don't have, what's the point of owning something if you don't have the power?
You're
to
not buying
control
it to have total control. You're buying it as if you're at that level
Name-
of finance.
Fifty
and-
Shades of
Name,
Grey.
Yeah,
more,
yeah.
name more
Yeah.
than one football club in the entire competition where that would be a good business investment.
Free battle. Their boards.
They lose, always losing money. Don't make any
yeah,
profit. Next
nah.
one,
They're- Big-
West.
lose money. Lose
Collingwood
money.
and West Coast are the only really good investments.
They're the only two teams you could do
Well, the
that.
rest
Yeah.
was money. No? There's only 7 teams who were profitable. 6.
Who are the other 4?
Yeah,
I don't know. It'll be Collingwood, West Coast, Adelaide, and someone else.
I don't
Adelaide
think
is
Adelaide will be
not
that
a
profitable.
club.
The Crows.
Yep.
They'd be profitable.
No,
Nah.
No.
no.
How many people are how many bums are getting on seats at the Adelaide Oval when they play at home?
Adelaide has
40?
less average than the worst
32
team in the
probably.
competition.
Yeah.
Really?
There's 4 teams who have a higher average than West Coast at games this season.
We need a roof. Let's start that fund up.
Yeah, there
They
you go.
said I saw a financial report at the start of the year, like an article about it, saying West Coast were in dire straits because their profit margins dropped by $10 million last year. So they dropped from like 35 to 25.
oh no.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a few less.
But yeah, there's
Huge
not
complaints, yeah.
there's not a lot
Mm.
of football clubs that you would buy as an investment.
No.
So then, if I'm buying that club, there's a reason why I'm buying it, and it's to be the man.
Yeah, fair. Fair.
Profit. Now, speaking of, now Tasmania doesn't have a home, and Carlton don't have a heart at the moment. Like
Nah.
this is there's
He's gonna be in trouble. Hey.
And there's been some weird whispers outside the walls. Lewis was saying yesterday they reckon like some players preferential treatment for Carlton, and that's divide between the ranks. Some assistant coaches are favouring players. That's what that was the thing that came out.
Absolutely, you can clearly see that's going
You
on.
talking about young players or like senior players?
Oh, they didn't say like whether it was younger. They reckon they're getting players getting played in certain treatment.
Oh, that wouldn't be surprising. That wouldn't be
It's
surprising at
interesting to
all.
hear you come out of a big club. Like that's a
Yeah,
big problem.
it is. Yeah, yeah. But it's culture at the end of the day, isn't it? And like, there's a lot of players on that list that'll be over losing and over being almost there.
Like, I mean, they've had a couple of good runs in 23 and 22 maybe, but they've not been that dangerous.
No.
Last year was a complete waste.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'd be interested to know who they're talking about. Like, what, Silvani? Maybe.
I'm trying to think of like where they're playing, but even like the way they've retained some of the
Saad,
players and let
Mackay.
some go is bizarre. But
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's like, but I mean, Boss, that was the most animated I've ever seen him in his entire career. Like he flew off the chain.
Yeah.
I think you would have seen him more animated when he was playing, but
coaching days.
I think he's
Wasn't
going to
much
be in
animated.
some trouble. He's
he
absolutely
will
going to be
not
on
be
the block.
there.
He won't be
if
there
they
at the
lose
end of
this
the
week.
year. No.
And you know what? I don't think it's even his fault at this point.
No, they just. I like the players that they've proven they can play well
Yeah.
together, but you've got like they were getting like I think they said it best. They were getting bullied by a young team off the ball.
They got
Yeah. It was almost like
that's
no
mental.
Jacob Wheatery, no Carlton. They just, as soon as he went off with that injury, North Melbourne just pepped the goals on, and like Carlton couldn't steady the ship.
No, it's just saying that because I'm not saying it's going to say that Cripps is bad cap because obviously forms you can lift the team up, but it's like but the rest of the players aren't coming with him.
Well, probably but that's probably because, I mean, for as long as I've paid any attention, he's been the only player that shows up week in, week out with any heart and soul, and will put the entire team on his back to try and drag him over the line. And it doesn't matter who you are or how much money you're getting paid, that shit gets tiring.
Oh, of course it does. But I mean, it's not like what he can do individual. It's can he make the team better? Is he having that impact where he can take and make them better?
Yeah, I think he was for a period of time, but I think, I don't know. If I was him, I would want out of there. I'd be wanting to come home.
So I think they've made some really terrible recruitment decisions.
Yeah.
Like Williams obviously has out.
No.
Motlop a lot. Kerno's dropped
still
off the
young, but
I mean, Kerno's dropped off the face of the earth. Mackay's been up a yo-yo. Like
I wouldn't say Kerno's dropped off the face of the earth. I would say that it's a similar sort of situation to probably what the West Coast forward line has been dealing with in the last 2 to 3 years. Is when there's no supply or there's no quality supply coming in, he can't play at his best. You know,
Adelaide runs at a loss.
We'll just cut that and dump it back in 7 minutes ago when we were on that subject.
Sorry, I had to look.
Yeah, fair.
Honestly, that surprises me. I thought we were at least break even.
Adelaide runs at a loss. Yeah, it's quite interesting that most of the clubs are break even.
Really?
4 clubs profitable.
Who are they?
Well, it changes every year.
Yeah.
Like I was looking at data back to 2015 just then, and back in 2015, Hawks are one of them. They're not profitable.
Yeah,
well, it's hard if you're not having success.
Yeah, the only teams that are like consistently profitable are West Coast and Collingwood.
Yeah,
like Tigers in 17 and that era they were up.
Yeah,
they would have been running at a loss long before that.
Yeah,
and most teams break even. Or
it'd be interesting to look at it over like a span of 20 years or something like that.
I'd say that the average profit, like those teams that aren't the 2 big ones, would be anywhere between 1% and 7% if they rest of them run at a loss.
That's crazy. It comes down to
like
bums on seats.
Like GWS and Gold Coast are kind of an outlier here because they won't make money for a while.
I'd be surprised that Gold Coast ever makes money.
Well, no, their members are increasing every year. Like they are gradually getting there, and the Giants are the same. I think Giants are close to being a break-even football club at this stage, and
that success has helped.
Yeah, I'd say Gold Coast won't be far behind them, right? Especially at the moment because they are finally tasting their first level of success, right?
Yeah.
It's going to go well for them. In that sense, they might get close to not being a liability on the entire competition. So the AFL's financial report does AFL club profit and losses across the whole comp, right? So 4 teams are holding the rest up, right? So the last year was 9.1% was profitability of the football clubs, right?
Overall.
Well, that's what in the AFL's financial report.
Right.
9.1%.
Okay.
Right? They don't show you.
No, they won't. You have to go find that information, right? So the AFL kind of fluffs up their numbers for their financial report to make it look like every club's profitable, right?
Mm.
But I can tell you right now, Geelong will be running at a loss because they're paying off all these brands to pay their players. So like they're robbing they're basically run themselves into the ground to keep giving farms away. So they
What's the cotton?
yeah. No doubt they are perpetually at a loss, but that's tax write off for them, and it covers all the
Bounce back.
They get all the franking credits from all the farms they bought all the players. But yeah, it's 3-4 clubs that are propping the rest of the comp up.
Yeah, that's fair. Fair.
So they say Crom's the pride of South Australia, but they're not what Adelaide is because they're the ones who profit.
Well, we'll be the Pride 2 rounds coming up shortly. Slogan. I should send that to Laura Kane. Like, hey, round, put that in.
Good.
If you suggest that, we're going to get Gather Round next year, and Adelaide's going to be the pride of South Australia, and it's going to be a fucking rainbow flag in a Gather Round.
Yeah, we'll cut that out. Just in case it spreads like wildfire on the internet. We don't need that shit.
Now, I didn't listen to the word you were talking about.
We were talking about Vossi, gone.
Yeah, okay,
and
I was listening to
Chad
it.
was talking about the Carlton list and mentioned about Patrick Cripps potentially not being that great a captain because the team aren't coming along with him.
I said he's able to perform and consistently perform, but his leadership on the field.
Yeah.
Can he bring others with him?
Look,
So you said he's not a great captain.
I kind of agree with you, right? But you got to remember that his first 5 years of captaincy, there was only him on the football field.
Yeah, that's fine.
And that's kind of hard habits to break. So just in his defence, I do agree with you. In his defence, hard to break habits.
I didn't think about it like that as the hard habits to break thing. I thought about it like from the same angle, but fucking over it. Like it's so tiring being the only guy that shows up consistently week in and week out.
Correct, and that's
he's
probably
he's got to do more than perform. He has to lead and he has to structure, and like that's your best player doesn't naturally the best captain.
How many coaches are there at that football club?
There's going to be one less in the next week.
No, but like how many coaches are there?
We're talking like between the assistants.
Yeah,
4.
Yeah, let's just say I don't know what they have in their coaching panel, what level of development they got. But let's say they have 4 assistant coaches and a head coach, right? Let's go with 5.
Yeah.
There's 5 people whose job is to do exactly that before it's Patrick Cripps's.
Yeah, but once they're on the ground, that's it. They play. It's on the onus is on the players.
There is 5 people standing on the boundary putting up messages throughout the game.
Yeah,
and talking to players on an interchange.
So what I'm saying is there's 5 men who make all this money to do exactly that job, and you're putting the onus on one bloke who still needs to do his job, which is play the game.
Well, yeah, if you can't both.
And I've watched him, and he is out there pointing and doing things right, and he does have a crack, but he could be a better captain. And I'll stand by the fact that his skills as a captain had changed to a different style of leadership because that's what he had to do.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about what now we're in the moment. Like, is he effective?
Yeah, but then
all their leaderships on field, are they effective?
Yeah, but like who's their other on field leaders? And that's probably
Sam Dockett.
He's poor bastard's been in and out of footy for so long.
Well, when he's on like he would.
Of course he does, but he leads the same way Cripper does, which is
by getting stuck in and doing it.
Doing it, right?
Yeah.
And leading by example is always the best way to lead, regardless.
I more say do as I say than I do.
Yeah, well, I've seen the outcome of that sometimes. It doesn't really work, right? But leading by example always works.
No, but I think they've got the upper tier they've nailed. It's the mid to lower tier. I think players aren't good enough to carry them.
No, I think you were dead right.
And they're small forwards.
Yeah. You're dead right. Their 2 best players in the small category both departed that club in the off season.
The weird ones.
I like the weird ones. Like I wouldn't know what. Like it's selection again, isn't it?
I'll tell you right now, De Koning won't be there next year.
No, we'll get off too much.
Paddy Cripps won't be there next year.
No, I think Cripps is more than welcome to try and put a difference.
He will walk. De Koning's going to walk.
And they're talking about trading Mackay and Kerno. So are they heading for another rebuild before they've even?
They have to.
They might be, and especially if they're gonna exit
the reason
Vossi,
they have
they're
to,
gonna have
right?
to.
And it's not because their age demographics real good, right? The reason they'd have to is if De Koning walks and Cripps walks, right? They're big shoes they got to fill, and they need capital to do that before Dazzy. And they'll be like, how do we avoid a mass collapse when the draft is so compromised?
There's one thing to lose, like say Bosco, but trying to sell that to the Carlton faithful, saying, look, now we're headed for a rebuild and a new coach, that won't sit well with
No.
them.
It does nothing sits well with them in the first place.
No, it's true.
No.
And they can't afford to get on that fucking merry-go-round of coaches again.
No,
because that was wild.
But I think that's why they've persevered with Vossi. But it's not working. Whether it's because of the players or because of him or both, but it's not working. And there's quite a handful of good candidates that are out floating out there right now, and they should be capitalised on those.
Would they go for Horse?
If I was Carlton, I wouldn't be settling for anything less.
Yeah.
Right? And if you
I
had
think
to,
that's fair.
they're a team that would benefit from the likes of Nathan Buck
Yes.
because he wins playing groups.
Structure, profession.
Yeah, and players play for him, right? That's the reality, right? They're your two coaches. But a Horse is out there, you fucking go for Horse. Right?
I think that's a very good point. Yep.
Because the Horse is going to have his selection, really, because obviously Port may even kind of say, look.
Everyone's going to ask him.
Oh.
And I guarantee you, when the changes start happening over the next 2-3 years, Horse, Simpson, and Bucks are all going to get their number rang and their bell dinged that many times, because two of them are premiership coaches and one of them went to a grand final.
Yeah.
Right? And they all have they're very good at developing game styles.
Yeah.
They're very good at rolling out those game styles. And like Bucks' biggest trait is that he'll win a playing group very easily. And you can tell that just by his demeanour. Like, it wouldn't be hard for him at all.
So you might say he's the better option for Carlton rather than
no,
Horse then?
Horse number one. Because Horse
Structure with Horse.
his structure, and I've never seen the Sydney team not play for him. The entire time he was coaching there.
Only on grand final. But
whatever breaks down, it's grand final. Anything can happen, Like it's not. But I've never.
Carlton's happy to get to a grand final.
Yeah, I've never seen that. Never saw that team not play for him. Right, so it's Horse is the way to go. But you got to beat the other teams to it because come knock.
Well, mate, horsepower. We've got the slogan. That's where we want to be.
Yeah. Well, we missed a couple of weeks, so there was a lot of stuff that we probably could have dug back and spoken about.
Yeah.
But I feel like we need to spend a minute just talking about the state of the tipping competition.
Before we do that, before we move it, because then we may as well just roll with our tips after that. Right?
Yeah, true.
So I'll just touch on something that's kind of happened within the football world, outside the football world, within my football world. My mate Kane.
Your mate Kane?
My mate Kane. This is a shout out to my buddy Kane. This would make me pretty happy. So he spent the last month in hospital.
Oh shit! Sorry, Kane.
Yep, had
Hope you're all good,
major
fam.
surgery. Currently in ICU, but Kane's hard as nails, right? So it took him to like fucking be turning blue to say, "Oh, I think there's something wrong," right? Because Kane has beat leukemia twice. He's already fought the hardest battles anyone fights. So most things don't really bother him, right? So he had a major infection, just powered through it like it was nothing because he's just a hard nut until it got really bad. Anyway, his surgery went well from what I heard, and he is recovering. But leading up to that, he wasn't in the best spirits, obviously, a bit going on. So he's a die-hard Tiger supporter, right? I'm going to be critical of the Richmond Football Club. Die-hard Tiger supporter. Fucking lives and breathes. Like, his whole life. He was fucking black and yellow when they were the shittest of the shits.
Right.
And then he was black and yellow when they were fucking...
Ty Vickery talking.
Yeah.
That was some dark days.
Yeah, dark days. So he's big boy. Anyway, we reached out to Richmond Football Club. Hey, we got Kano here having a hard time. The club themselves are actually pretty good. Responded, yep. Really sorry to hear that. Here's a personalised message for Kane. I'm not going to name the player on that, but it was something I can't remember verbatim, but it was along these lines. Hi, mate. Thanks for being a supporter, member, or whatever for however long you've been. Cheers.
That's personalised, isn't it?
That was nearly
So warm.
nearly bang on verbatim.
Oh shit.
So they're not. See, it's almost like it was pre-recorded just to give out to people.
Noel
Yeah.
Bolton?
No. Kane had beat Noah Bolter in a fight in his wheelchair. So that's how tough he is, right? He can't even walk and he'd smash that car. But I wasn't satisfied with that.
Yeah, fair.
So I suggested we go to Cuzzy. Richmond supporter.
Yep.
Play for Tigers. And Kane's just a massive football nut. So start like Cuzzy. Contact Cuzzy's manager. Here you go. Please don't put it on social media. No worries. And shout out Ben Cousins. This is why the world loves you. And we're glad you're back in the footy world because he had a truly personalised message for Kane about what he was dealing with. That he'd get through it. He talked about where they are as a Richmond footy club because he's still a supporter of Richmond. And just genuinely took care about. He didn't ask for anything in return. Just saw a bloke who needed a bit of a lift up, and so this is a shout out to my mate Kane and a shout out to Benny Cousins.
How good is that?
Just fucking being a good bloke.
Just giving him.
Just being a good
love
bloke.
that.
And
Very
it
good.
perked me mate up, and he was able to go in for a successful surgery after being pumped up. So Cuzzy number one as always.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I hope you're all right, Kane. We're thinking of you, mate.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's cool.
Good. Fuck sick.
On your Cuzzy, what a ledge.
Mad dog.
Wish he was still playing because
Just
tips wouldn't be so fucked, would they?
put the boots on, Cuzzy.
They can teach the current generation players how to play with a drug habit. It's like they just wussed out after a couple of weeks. They've been hard for years. Fucking hell.
Mate, what has gone on? Let's be real.
Well, look, so we use the AFL tipping platform, and then I'm in a tipping comp using ESPN.
Yep.
And we have a rule in that tipping comp that not tipping is donuts, not the away team.
Yeah.
And I've been making a habit of the last 4 weeks to forget to put my tips in.
Oh no.
Right, so I'm just like very bottom of that. But
Fully tanked.
how this week went that everyone had the same amount of tips me by halfway through the round because they all fucking got them wrong.
No way.
So I was like, yeah, I'm not falling behind this time.
Nah. Well, I've had some shockers, mate. Round 13, I got fucking 2 out of 7. Round 14.
One? I had a shock.
I don't know. I'm looking at me at the moment. To be honest.
Okay,
I'm being quite
that's-
selfish, but
Yeah.
14, I was a little bit better. I got 5 out of 7.
Oh.
But then 15, which I thought, as I was putting them tips in, I was like, these are fucking easy. This is this is easy. No worries. And I ended up on fucking 4. So what was a nice sort of gap
Oh no.
between myself and yourself is closed quite quickly.
That's good.
What am I on? Am I still dreadful?
You're
You're
one
on-
above me as well.
Yeah.
Still dreadful.
Look, now we'll get into the tips very, very quickly following this conversation. But
Yeah.
I just want to point out that Chad's favourite game is this week,
Is it?
the Ross Lyon Cup.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Again?
Fremantle
Yep.
Dockers
I feel like it was only like 5 weeks ago.
It's the Ross Lyon Cup too.
Yep.
Chad's favourite teams playing his second favourite teams,
Fucking love it, don't you?
The heart and pawn.
Are you?
and his
really?
actual team is playing the Tigers. So, but yeah. So
How is his actual team playing St Kilda and the Tigers in the same weekend?
It's the AFL fixturing.
yeah. One of them's at midnight in Tassie.
2 games in 5. 2 games in 5 days. That's
Yeah. Shit. Well, gonna be in for it. How did the last couple of weeks go for you?
It doesn't say how many. It just says how many tips put in. So I've got to count.
It does say how many. You can go like
Is it?
change the round, and then it says overall.
Well, I got 5 last week. So I'm better than both years.
Did you?
And then I got
Oh,
4 the week before that. That was fucking bad.
No, it doesn't-
I
no, it
got
just
5
says-
that week.
Mine just says tips entered. It doesn't say. how
To be
many I
fair,
got.
one of them was a
I'm not looking at the
3-point
Ladder
difference.
comp.
Oh no!
ladder.
Oh, is that how you can see week by week?
And then I got 4 the
Yeah.
week before that. That was bad too.
That 13.
Yeah.
I got fucking 2, bro.
I
That's
got
where you've
4.
closed the gap. I got
And
2.
one of them was fucking
I can't even see myself on the bloody
a 1-point game.
No, one of them was 14 behinds that decided 10 behinds that decided.
Did you tip West Coast that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So did I.
Yeah. And I tipped the Giants on Port, so fucking that shouldn't have been wrong either. And to be fair,
same.
I also tipped the Dogs against Hawks, so like it's not as if my tips were bad. So.
Yeah. And I tipped the Lions against Adelaide too.
And round 12, I got 5. So I'm on a bad run during the bye weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're only 3 behind you. No, yes. Yeah, you're on 81, I'm on 78.
Yeah.
And I'm 1 behind you.
So as bad as each other.
After this week, I'll probably be number 1 out of 3 of us.
Oh, all right.
No, you won't.
I'll catch you 4 tips this week.
No, you fucking won't.
Fucking will, man.
I'm back on now. I've
you're
put them in when I'm sound of mind at 6 a.m. sitting in my front yard. I've already put them in.
Two tips this week, mate.
Nah, I'm getting a
I'm getting a perfect 7.
The perfect 7 out of 9. Nah, I'm on for it this week. I'm feeling good about it. So much so that I'll rattle them off right now if you want.
There you go. Thursday night.
I got Port by 15.
Fuck, I went Carlton by 13.
Did you?
Yep, they're coming for a response, mate. And I'll tell you what, it's Port Adelaide who have played their last win for the year, I reckon.
No, it's not.
Yep.
Port will beat Carlton by 15 points. Then the Western Bulldogs will beat Sydney.
Yep.
Then the Gold Coast Suns will beat Melbourne.
Yep.
Then the Hawks will beat North.
Yep.
Collingwood will beat West Coast.
Yep.
Adelaide will beat Richmond.
Yep.
And Freo will beat St Kilda.
Yep. So I'll get 1 up on you.
No, you won't.
I'll get 7 and you'll get 6.
You're getting 6.
Getting 7.
What are you tipping, Chad?
No, I'm gonna tip Port Adelaide. I'm gonna go Port Adelaide by 10 points. That'll be the end of Voss. Bulldog
10 points. Yeah, small margin.
I did 13. Yeah.
I went 15.
I just think Port's forward line's a little bit more potent at the moment.
I'm pretty sure Carlton have kicked more goals and won more games than Port Adelaide, but I could be wrong on who's got the more potent forward line.
No, I mean in terms of functioning, like I think I mean Port's midfielder work.
All right, so I'll take that back. They've won the same amount of games, but there is a 21% difference in.
Is there really?
Yeah.
Carlton are 21% higher than Port.
Adelaide.
Wow.
So that tells me which team's better at scoring.
Well, they're both still shit. They've won the same games. They're just letting more goals in and they're having a
Yeah, Carlton will beat them.
No, they won't.
Anyway.
All right, so do you have Swans or Dog?
No, Dogs. Dogs and then Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Tasmania. What's the weather? It's 2:15, so it's going to be fucking cold, yeah? I'm going to go North Melbourne.
2:15 our time. What's that in Tassie? It's like 4:45 or something.
Yeah, 4:15, same time zone as Melbourne.
Podcast.
Look, I considered North as well, and the reason I consider it is because they're on like a run right now. But they won't beat Hawks.
They won't beat them Hawks, man.
The
You
Hawks
can't
have been a
sleep
bit-
on that
but there you
Hawthorn
go.
team.
Then we've got Collingwood naturally.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong, I want North to beat Hawks. I want every team to beat Hawks for the rest of the year so we get pick.
Marvel Stadium with the roof.
Collingwood's playing a game away from the MCG.
Yeah.
on the
Long
other
travel.
side of
Fuck.
town.
I'm gonna go.
Hope West Coast just turn it on and fucking ruin their streak.
That'd be so
Just
good.
like,
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
They would if they were playing at the MCG. They would.
Do you reckon?
Oh yeah. Collingwood
Bring
can't-
Dom Sheet out in a moon boot.
Collingwood can't beat West Coast at the G.
I'll go Crows. Then I will go.
The big game, Chad. Big game.
I'm gonna go St Kilda.
Oh,
Do you know
yeah.
why he's going St Kilda?
Because he's in love with Ross
Because that's
Lyon.
the one Ross coach.
Yeah.
He's back from Vegas. He's ready to go.
Nah. Freo are winning that game.
Speaking of back from Vegas, we are back from ATIS, so
We are.
good to be back.
Yeah. It feels weird missing a couple. I didn't like it.
I don't care.
Yeah. I didn't like it, but it's good to be
They
back.
get to have bye rounds. We should get bye rounds too.
Yeah, true.
Have to have mental health.
We do. You do. Physical health time off, mental health time off. So the
Excuse me.
podcast is called Afraid of the Mark. It's on YouTube. It's on Instagram. It's on TikTok. It's
On whatever platform.
on
you
whatever
want.
platform you want to listen to a podcast on.
Yep. I do
Um,
like mass uploads for the podcast now. I don't.
Oh, do you?
Because people don't fucking download them, so it's like
Fair.
just go on YouTube.
Yeah, go on YouTube. That's where it's at.
Yeah, that's where we'll make money. So go on YouTube.
If we're desperate, we'll have to go on OnlyFans. We will take clothes off.
No, we won't. It's called Afraid of the Mark. We didn't introduce ourselves off the top. So my name's Dan. Your name's Finn.
Your
name's
I introduced
Chad.
myself perfectly. I said I'm Chad and did a Chad intro.
Oh, you did.
So,
But you're not Chad.
Yeah, I know. It was funny.
That's our names. That's the podcast. That's where you can find us. Shorts incoming. And
Or there's Perth. One of the two places, yep.
Excellent. Anything else? Back in the swing of it by next week?
That joke bombed as hard as Iran did Israel.
Oh.
Ooh, that was good.
Are we believing them this time? Colin Powell said there was nuclear stuff in Iraq.
We're not talking about that. See you next week.
Oh, really? Alex Pierce.